So, Sound of Freedom.
Sound of Freedom. We heard a lot about this movie
Yeah.
in the last week. This movie
It's kind of the talk of the town right now.
came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, you gotta go see this movie. It's a very important movie. So we went and saw it.
I do agree with the fact that it is an important movie.
There's no argument there.
So, I don't know, before we kind of get into it, I think it's worth noting that this film only had a budget of $14.5 million.
That's it, huh?
That's
Just
it.
$14 million?
Just $14 million. Well, I mean, that is extremely low, and considering
that it's like a kind of a globe-trotting type of film.
Adventure.
Well, I don't know about adventure, but
yeah.
the film definitely looked like it had a budget,
Yeah.
and they stretched probably every penny of it.
Whatever they had was definitely on the screen.
Definitely used. The movie looked good.
It did, for the most part.
For the most part. There were a couple scenes where it was like,
Yeah.
crossing that TV line, but
It is crossing the Hallmark Christian conservative movie
Yes.
line. That was my biggest fear going into it, was like, okay, all these like right-wing media outlets are really loving the movie right now.
Right.
And me, I'm like, okay, well,
we're loving it. Why though?
yes.
That's the question.
And it's like, well, just on the merits of a filmmaking in general.
Yes.
Does it hold up, you know? And so that was like my main concern, because those kind of movies, you want them to succeed, you know, or you want that,
Right.
like that's a market and you want that to flourish. But
when
I
you
think
see like the conservative, like you said, that side of things, like, okay, no, we're going to step up and make some of our own movies, and then you get people flooding to go see it. It's always in the back of your mind, like, yeah, but is it a good movie?
yeah,
you know.
I think that a lot of the times people will get swept up in like,
Yeah.
oh, someone from our side did something, and so they're not really objective when they watch
Right,
it.
they watch
can't
it
be.
and they're just so focused on the message being for them rather
Yes.
than, but is it a good movie?
Yes.
So we went in with that skepticism there, and I think we were both pleasantly surprised that it was
Yeah.
a very decent film.
Yeah.
With a very good message.
It does have a very, very good message. And it was also just honestly really good to see Jim Caviezel again.
Yeah, yeah.
The guy
he
is
doesn't
so
get enough work.
underused, and he's great.
Yeah, he's fantastic. And yes, everybody loves him for Passion of the Christ, but Frequency, man.
Frequency and G.I. Jane.
Tell me I'm not dreaming here.
Listen, man, I've seen Frequency like 20 times. I love that movie. Even though it makes no sense.
No, Frequency is amazing.
It's,
all right?
it's incredible.
That's
him and Quaid.
Yeah, like
Perfect
whenever you
film.
talk about genre mashing, that is the best example.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah,
Right.
that movie is like 5 different movies in one, but it works.
But it works somehow.
It's a firefighter movie. It's a time travel movie. It's a father-son story.
Yeah,
and
it's
it's a
great.
serial killer drama. Like,
It's so good.
it's an awesome movie.
Yeah, but we're not talking about that. Maybe
Did you know
we'll
that we should do a video on
we
this?
should do a video about Frequency.
Did you know that Jim Caviezel's in The Rock?
Is he?
He plays one of the jet fighters at the end of the movie that drop. He's the one that drops the bomb on
Really?
Alcatraz at the end.
Oh, I
yeah.
don't think I knew that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, the plot with this film, it's based on a true story.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if it follows the true story beat for beat, if they took some liberties here and there. I'm sure they it felt like they followed it pretty closely.
Our review is not gonna. We're not gonna nitpick what really happened,
No,
and we're,
no.
we're strictly going at it by the merits of it being a movie, and that's it.
Right, right. So Caviezel plays Tim Ballard.
Yes, Tim Ballard.
And he is a Homeland Security agent.
Yes.
He goes around taking out pedophiles. That's his thing. But he never actually rescues kids. That's like
Right.
outside of what he does.
Yes. He
And the
never
job-
goes to the source.
He never goes to the source. And this job, like, because he's got to watch all of this stuff. It's like part of the job. And it just wears on him so much, takes its toll. And he finally devises a way to actually rescue a single child. And after he does that, he realizes that this child has a sibling that's also stuck in this child trafficking world. It just hits him so hard, he's like, okay, I have to basically go to another country and rescue this little girl. I really do hope that most of what was in that film was true.
Yeah.
Because if he did do all those things that the film portrays, it's incredible.
Kind of tough to watch, I guess. Some of it. The movie
Yeah.
does a really good job at making it tasteful. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
as tasteful as you can
As
make
ta-
the
well,
subject
yeah,
matter.
because they give you just enough for your imagination to run with it.
Yeah.
It's not exploitative. It's not gratuitous. It puts the idea in your head of what's happening to these kids.
Yeah.
Caviezel's character, you see all of this happening to him, like how he's processing all of it, and it's just tearing him down. And Caviezel did a pretty solid job playing this role.
Yes.
And he's excellent.
He has, there's a couple moments where I was a little iffy on, but overall, he does a really, really understated Jim Caviezel performance.
Jim Caviezel performance,
it's amazing, and he's very good.
You got some supporting characters, like he goes to Colombia and he hooks up with the cartel guy who has turned his life around, I guess. He was in the cartel, went to jail, and now he's just saving kids from sex traffickers, because that's...
He's the whitest guy
He's
ever.
like totally a white guy playing a Cali cartel guy. I don't know about that casting, but still, he was good in the role.
He's great.
You know, he kind of brings a little more lightheartedness.
Yeah, some
into
levity
because
to it.
you need a little of that, because
Yeah.
it's a heavy story, and Caviezel's carrying the whole thing on his back, and he's not really one for the punchline. Another thing I liked about the cartel guy he partners up with is, you know, he's got like a backstory that shows why he's so focused on helping kids out. Yeah, I saw this 20-year-old girl and I was sleeping with her, and then I found out she was 14, and that blew my fucking mind. So it got him to a point where he realized, like, shit, I'm an evil person. I need to go out and fight this evil. And I like that. I like the motivations they gave the characters. It was solid.
Both actors do an incredible job in that scene, but I think that my overall issue with the movie is illustrated in that scene, actually. And not necessarily the subject matter, it's kind of the execution of some of the dialogue. You know, some of the scenes are a little too on the nose, I think.
Yes.
And what I think really good filmmakers have mastered is the art of subtlety. And this movie, I just said that Caviezel does an understated performance, and he does, but there are some aspects of the movie that I think could have been reworked in a way to make the point come across a little bit more subtle. It would have been more powerful doing it that way.
Yeah, there were times, like 2 or 3 specific moments in the film where he has like a line where he's bringing home like a certain point, but it's so on the nose.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay,
Yeah.
I get it. He could have just done something really simple, a gesture that would have gotten the same point across.
Yes.
That subtlety.
and-
That's
yeah.
what it was missing.
And so going into it, like we said, we're kind of concerned that it would turn out like, you know,
the
a
whole movie
Christian
would be like
conservative
that.
Hallmark movie or whatever.
Right.
And so those moments where it's kind of like that kind of veer towards that territory, you know. These are kind of nitpicks, but it's definitely there. You know, like I mean, it's kind of unfortunate, you know.
Right, because those are like the little tiny things that like the left media are gonna pull at. Like, oh yeah, they think like they could just pull that one thread and the whole sweater will come undone.
Yeah, it won't, but they will.
But
yeah,
they're gonna try and nitpick those tiny little things, like how you could nitpick things about a movie that's like shining a light on kid sex trafficking is beyond me. But that's a different conversation. Maybe we'll have that with the boys over at Revelo.
yes,
We'll,
maybe
we'll
we will.
discuss that with them. This movie's spreading like wildfire right now.
It is.
Like so many people were like, you have to go see this movie.
It is, and I think that's
It's like, okay.
that's the remarkable thing about this is just how the word of mouth is getting around, and that's what I really do appreciate about this movie coming out. It's just that collectively people are interested in this, and I don't know, people are just so sick and tired of shit movies. And so anytime they hear that there's something of substance that comes out, they will go see it. And it just shows that the power of word of mouth is still the strongest
and this movie
form of advertising.
It's all substance. It kind of bucks a lot of like traditional film tropes, I'd say. Like almost, I don't want to say to its detriment, but I did feel like pacing wise, the movie kind of picked up and then slowed down and then turned left and then picked up, and then like the whole like raid scene on the island was pretty deep into the film.
Yeah.
And it felt like, okay, we're coming to like a climax here, because it was an intense scene. And then it goes past that and it's like, oh wait, we didn't find the little girl. Huh, where could she be? And then like it keeps going and you're like, how much longer is this now? Yeah. And then it turns into like a whole third act after that where he goes into the jungle to find the girl.
It's basically Rambo 4.
It turns into Rambo 4
without
for the third act.
Without the action.
Without the action. more realistic Rambo 4 there at the end.
Which I was cool with.
And
I kept wanting
actually,
Rambo to show up and just tear the shit out of all these pedos. That'd have been dope.
All these pedos just living in the jungle. Yeah. And actually, the third act was probably my favorite part of the whole film, just because it was tense, and if you don't know the true story or any of the real events, you have no idea what's going to happen, whether he's going to find this girl or not, or how it's going to play out.
Yeah,
it's a very quiet movie. It's not an action movie at all. It's just more like, it's almost like an espionage movie in some ways.
Yeah,
he's doing a lot of leg work, and then he's running a sting operation, and it almost felt like he was in the CIA or something.
It's like a CIA movie, and like how when you're an operative, you have to deal with the red tape and stuff, and then like all the creative ways that you have to go around it. That's kind of how it was.
Going back to some of the nuances in the film, all of the scenes where it was like the kids who were with like one of the pedophiles, and you knew like something was going to happen. The scenes were they were shot very simply, and it was just like the back and forth of them talking, and you just know, like, you just get this like icky feeling.
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't that they were shot creatively or they were shot gritty. A lot of them were just like, nope, it's just like them having a conversation, and it was enough to know like where it's going. And the success of those scenes also lends back to how good the kids were.
Yeah.
The actors.
The kid actors were phenomenal.
They were incredible.
Yeah.
The brother and sister were two of the best kid actors I've ever seen.
And I'm just going to say that right now, if a kid actor sucks, I will call that
Absolutely.
Kid
Kids
actors
don't
are
get
usually
special
shit.
treatment.
They do not. If
No.
they suck, they suck.
No.
These kids, happy to report, did not. They
did
were really
not
good.
suck. Usually in a movie like this, where you have such young kids.
And super low budget.
Super low budget in very large roles, you're scraping the bottom of the barrel. These kids, top notch. Both of them delivered extremely emotional performances.
Yeah. And
sold me on every scene they were in.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Really good. Some of them, in some cases, were better than some of the adults.
Yeah.
And then all the pedophiles, they looked like, the first guy looked like Adam Driver.
Yeah, he looked like doing
the Kylo Ren
SNL
scene
skit,
from SNL.
Sorry about that.
That first guy.
He looked just like him.
Yeah, he did. And then two of the pedos later on the island, that one dude looked like the guy from Lost Highway, and then the other guy looked like Andy Serkis. It was like a weird assortment of like who they cast as these pedophiles.
I mean,
it was kind of funny.
You got to be like, if you're one of those guys, like, why are they interested in me?
Yeah, right.
Oh, because you look like a fucking pedophile.
Right? You know, they wanted to get Adam Driver, but they got his cousin instead. And another thing I really liked, the heroes in this movie, all of the men, all the male characters.
Zero soy.
No soy at all.
None.
Not a single one of them consumed a soy product.
None.
And yet, at the same time, these are characters who had extreme empathy for the situation they were going into.
Well, they handled it the way men would handle it.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
Jim Caviezel must have cried like 8 times in that movie, but it wasn't like, ooh, it was like his horrendous job is taking a toll on him, and there's only so much a man can handle.
Yeah.
Before he has to take matters into his own hands.
Yeah. It's just refreshing seeing a movie where there's actual men acting like men.
Yeah. And
it's not some Hollywood
law enforcement guys are not all fucking evil.
Yeah, the law enforcement guys for the most part are good, and like they're out there to do good.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's kind of strange seeing that now. You know what I mean? We're not being force-fed this Hollywood idea of what males should be like.
Right. It's like, oh no, these guys in this movie, from Caviezel to the cartel guy to the cop guy, I don't know what law enforcement agency he was with in Colombia, that guy, they were all excellent.
They were, yeah.
Ranking-wise, this is the type of movie that it exists for the message. Mm-hmm. It's not the type of movie that I would say has a lot of rewatch value.
It doesn't have rewatch value, and it doesn't really push the art form forward in any way. Really,
no,
you know?
but it does push a very strong message. It is produced well enough that the message doesn't get lost.
Yeah.
So for me, you know, a couple little things here and there. I'm gonna give it a 7.5 out of 10.
Son of a bitch. I thought you were going to say 8, and then I was going to give it a 7.5, but I'm giving it a 7.5 as well.
Yeah, I thought about 8 for a second, and I was like,
yeah.
It's not quite there.
No, it's
still very good, but it's got some rough around the edge bits.
Yes.
And for me, yeah, it's
and if you're the
7.5.
type of person that goes to see something and the messaging behind it is the most important thing, then
Great.
this is for you.
Absolutely,
Like this is because it
100%.
absolutely does that.
Yeah.
And I recommend all of you go see it. You guys should see it. It's worth seeing.
Definitely, yeah.
And yeah, the filmmakers did do a good job. Like it's very tough subject matter, and they found the balance.
They absolutely did.
You know?
They walked the line pretty well. They never went overboard with the subject matter.
Right.
Now, I feel weird even mentioning this at this point because on the woke scale,
0.
0.
No.
There's
0 rainbows.
0 rainbows in this.
Yeah.
So we thought we might bring in something else for
Yeah.
this instead.
Yeah.
So we're going to rank this on the flag scale.
Yeah. How many American flags is this going to get?
I'd say it wasn't overt. I'd give it 2.5 American flags out of 5.
I'm going to say 2.5 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel that's fair.
Yeah, it is fair.
Yeah.
This could have had like more of a patriotic boner.
It could have,
But
it didn't go that direction.
No,
it was
it
very
didn't.
focused on the message.
It didn't. And that's something that we talked about as well going into it. Like, okay, our whole thing is not like, oh, it's like left-wing messaging necessarily being in movies. It's just messaging in general.
Right.
Fuck off.
Right.
And so if any side does that, it's annoying.
Right.
Unless it's done ironically or whatever.
Yeah.
You know,
And-
you
and-
watch like Rocky IV, and that movie's like a total Reagan era fucking right-wing boner.
Right-wing boner.
But it's dope. You know what I mean? Because like
Right.
it knows what it is, and it's
not hiding it.
It's not hiding it. It's stupid.
Yeah,
and
it's not like
having
one
fun.
character sneaking a line in, like
Yeah.
it's like some little like backhanded message toward like that slaps at the main character or the country or something like that.
Yeah,
it's not
exactly.
that kind of bullshit.
It's none of that
No,
shit.
that's like
it's not
right in your
preachy.
face. Yeah, it's not preachy.
Anyways, this didn't really do that. Now, of course, those on the left, because as we said earlier, because right wing hates this subject, so we have to kind of defend it. They're gonna do that.
Right.
Fucking weirdos.
This QAnon adjacent movie here.
Oh yeah, that soy article that was written in the Rolling Stone.
I don't know how Rolling Stone. I don't know how you can come away from this movie and think you've got that much of a hard-on for just knocking the right that you're going to come out and knock a movie that is literally just about stopping child sex trafficking.
Yeah, well, and in the same breath, they also wrote an article back when Cuties came out defending the movie Cuties. And saying that basically how that movie was misunderstood.
Right, of course.
So, like,
Right.
fuck them.
Yeah, all the pedophiles in this movie were just misunderstood.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
They're just minor attracted people.
Well, no, they're misunderstood, and being concerned about this and making a movie about this is QAnon adjacent.
Yeah.
It's a QAnon conspiracy,
Yeah.
right-wing jerk-off fest.
Right, we're totally getting limited monetization for this movie. Well, on that note, I guess it's a good place to wrap it up.
Go see it.
Go see it. It's worth seeing.
It's worth seeing.
Yeah, good message to spread.
Good message to spread. Jim Caviezel's awesome in it. Not bad.